He was in his late 60s and was living in the luxury of his palace. I imagine the lines on his head told a story. He had seen so much. King Herod was a visionary. He'd rebuilt the temple. He'd built forts, even formed new towns and new cities. And yet he was very much despised by the people. He was in bed with the Romans, and he would heavily tax the people to pay for his ambitious schemes. History paints him as an anxious man, desperately trying to hang on to his power. There had been countless plots against him, and he'd had to kill many of those trying to take his power. And that list included 3 of his own sons. He'd already crossed so many lines just to hold on to the power that he had. And you can imagine that day in Jerusalem when suddenly he is interrupted by Magi from a far-off land, asking the question, where is this newborn King of the Jews? Another threat to his throne, another contender to wipe from human history, a very unwelcomed interruption. Perhaps in his old age he could begin to see his power ebbing away. Beneath the facade of his royal robes, he knew his reign was precarious, and anything that threatened his power base had to be stopped, whether it was rumours about a Messiah or some divine plan. It had to be stopped. And so he schemes. He sends the Magi to go and find this new baby, this new child, so that he too may go and worship. But he has no intention to go and worship. Rather than reveling in the possibility that a king prophesied about hundreds of years ago was being born in his time, he instead focuses upon himself, upon his own power. He thinks he can thwart the plans of God. And when the Magi give him the slip, he orders the execution of all the children in Bethlehem under the age of 2, a bloody massacre, grieving mothers and fathers. This is the messed up world that Jesus has entered into. Where perhaps do I miss what God is doing? Where am I so self-focused that I miss the bigger thing that God is doing? Where am I so desperate to hang on to my power and privilege? God, interrupt me this Christmas.